Welcome to Thueringer for Farming Simulator 15. We now continue in our reading of The Octopus, A Story of California by Frank Norris, Chapter 5. I have lost the combination and I must have some money. Phelps is going into town and I want him to pay some bills for me. Can't you come right away, Magnus? Phelps is ready and waiting. Annixter struck his heel into the ground with a suppressed oath. Always these fool female women came between him and his plans, mixing themselves up in his affairs. Magnus had been on the very point of saying something, perhaps committing himself to some course of action, and at precisely the wrong moment his wife had cut in. The opportunity was lost. The three returned toward the ranch house, but before saying goodbye, Annixter had secured from Magnus a promise to the effect that, before coming to a definite decision in the matter under discussion, he would talk further with him. Presley met him at the porch. He was going into town with Phelps and proposed to Annixter that he should accompany them. I want to go over and see old Broderson, Annixter objected, but Presley informed him that Broderson had gone to Bonneville earlier in the morning. He had seen him go past in his buckboard. The three men set off, Phelps and Annixter on horseback, Presley on his bicycle. When they had gone, Mrs. Derrick sought out her husband in the office of the ranch house. She was at her prettiest that morning, her cheeks flushed with excitement, her innocent, wide-open eyes almost girlish. She had fastened her hair, still moist, with a black ribbon tied at the back of her head, and the soft mass of light brown reached to below her waist, making her look very young. "What was it he was saying to you just now?" she exclaimed as she came through the gate in the green-painted wire railing of the office. "What was Mr. Annixter saying?" "I know. He was trying to get you to join him, trying to persuade you to be dishonest. Wasn't that it? Tell me, Magnus, wasn't that it?" Magnus nodded. His wife drew close to him, putting a hand on his shoulder. "But you won't, will you? You won't listen to him again. You won't so much as allow him, anybody, to even suppose you would lend yourself to bribery. Oh, Magnus, I don't know what has come over you these last few weeks. Why, before this, you would have been insulted if anyone thought you would even consider anything like dishonesty. Magnus, it would break my heart if you joined Mr. Annixter and Mr. Osterman. Why, you couldn't be the same man to me afterward. You, who have kept yourself so clean till now. And the boys, what would Lyman say, and Heron, and everyone who knows you and respects you, if you lowered yourself to be just a political adventurer?" For a moment, Derrick leaned his head upon his hand, avoiding her gaze. At length he said, drawing a deep breath, "I am troubled, Annie. These are the evil days. I have much on my mind." "Evil days or not," she insisted, "promise me this one thing, that you will not join Mr. Annixter's scheme." She had taken his hand in both of hers and was looking into his face, her pretty eyes full of pleading. "Promise me," she repeated. "Give me your word. Whatever happens, let me always be able to be proud of you, as I always have been. Give me your word. I know you never seriously thought of joining Mr. Annixter, but I am so nervous and frightened sometimes. Just to relieve my mind, Magnus, give me your word." "Why, you are right," he answered. "No, I never thought seriously of it. Only for a moment. I was ambitious to be. I don't know what. What I'd hoped to be once, well, that is over now. Annie, your husband is a disappointed man. Give me your word, she insisted. We can talk about other things afterward. Again, Magnus wavered, about to yield to his better instincts and to the entreaties of his wife. He began to see how perilously far he had gone in this business. He was drifting closer to it every hour. Already he was entangled, already his foot was caught in the mesh that was being spun. Sharply he recoiled. Again all his instincts of honesty revolted. No, whatever happened he would preserve his integrity. His wife was right. Always she had influenced his better side. At that moment, Magnus's repugnance of the proposed political campaign was at its pitch of intensity. He wondered how he had ever allowed himself to so much as entertain the idea of joining with the others. Now he would wrench free, would in a single instant of power clear himself of all compromising relations. He turned to his wife. Upon his lips trembled the promise she implored. But suddenly there came to his mind the recollection of his new-made pledge to Annixter. He had given his word that before arriving at a decision, he would have a last interview with him. To Magnus, his given word was sacred. Though now he wanted to, he could not as he had draw back, could not promise his wife that he would decide to do right. The matter must be delayed a few days longer. Lamely, he explained this to her. Annie Derrick made but little response when he had done. She kissed his forehead and went out of the room, uneasy, depressed, her mind thronging with vague fears, leaving Magnus before his office desk, his head in his hands, thoughtful, gloomy, assaulted by forebodings. Meanwhile, Annixter, Phelps, and Presley continued on their way toward Bonneville. In a short time, they had turned into the county road by the great watering tank and proceeded onward in the shade of the interminable line of poplar trees, the windbreak that stretched along the roadside bordering the Broderson ranch. But as they drew near to Caraher's saloon and grocery, about half a mile outside of Bonneville, they recognized Heron's horse tied to the railing in front of it. Annixter left the others and went in to see Heron. Heron, he said, when the two had sat down on either side of one of the small tables, you've got to make up your mind one way or another pretty soon. What are you going to do? Are you going to stand by and see the rest of the committee spending money by the bucketful in this thing and keep your hands in your pockets? If we win, you'll benefit just as much as the rest of us. I suppose you've got some money of your own. You have, haven't you? You are your father's manager, aren't you? Disconcerted at Annixter's directness, Heron stammered an affirmative, adding, It's hard to know just what to do. It's a mean position for me, Buck. I want to help you others, but I do want to play fair. I don't know how to play any other way. I should like to have a line from the governor as to how to act, but there's no getting a word out of him these days. He seems to want to let me decide for myself. Well, look here, put in Annixter. Suppose you keep out of the thing till it's all over, and then share alike with the committee on the campaign expenses. Heron felt thoughtful, his hands in his pockets, frowning moodily at the toe of his boot. There was a silence. Then, I don't like to go it blind, he hazarded. I'm sort of sharing the responsibility of what you do then. I'm a silent partner. And then, I don't want to have any difficulties with the governor. We've always got along well together. He wouldn't like it, you know, if I did anything like that. Say, exclaimed Annixter abruptly, if the governor says he will keep his hands off and that you can do as you please, will you come in? For God's sake, let us ranchers act together for once. Let's stand in with each other in one fight." Without knowing it, Annixter had touched the right spring. I don't know but what you're right," Heron murmured vaguely. His sense of discouragement, that feeling of "what's the use," was never more oppressive. All fair means had been tried. The wheat grower was at last with his back to the wall. If he chose his own means of fighting, the responsibility must rest upon his enemies, not on himself. "It's the only way to accomplish anything," he continued, standing in with each other. "Well, go ahead and see what you can do. If the governor is willing, I'll come in for my share of the campaign fund." "That's some sense," exclaimed Annixter, shaking him by the hand. "Half the fight is over already. We've got Disbrow, you know. And the next thing is to get hold of some of those rotten San Francisco bosses." "Osterman will," but Heron interrupted him, making a quick gesture with his hand. "Don't tell me about it," he said. "I don't want to know what you and Osterman are going to do. If I did, I shouldn't come in." Yet for all this, before they said goodbye, Annixter had obtained Heron's promise that he would attend the next meeting of the committee, when Osterman should return from Los Angeles and make his report. Heron went on toward Los Muertos. Annixter mounted and rode into Bonneville. Bonneville was very lively at all times. It was a little city of some 20 or 30,000 inhabitants where, as yet, the city hall, the high school building, and the opera house were objects of civic pride. It was well governed, beautifully clean, full of the energy and strenuous young life of a new city. An air of the briskest activity pervaded its streets and sidewalks. The business portion of the town, centering about Main Street, was always crowded. Annixter, arriving at the post office, found himself involved in a scene of swiftly shifting sights and sounds. Saddle horses, farm wagons, the inevitable Studebakers, buggies gray with the dust of country roads, buckboards with squashes and grocery packages stowed under the seat. Two-wheeled sulkies and training carts were hitched to the gnawed railings and the zinc-sheathed telegraph poles along the curb. Here and there on the edge of the sidewalk were bicycles wedged into bicycle racks painted with cigar advertisements. Upon the asphalt sidewalk itself, soft and sticky with the morning's heat, was a continuous movement. Men with large stomachs, wearing linen coats but no vests, labored ponderously up and down. Girls in lawn skirts, shirtwaists, and garden hats went to and fro, invariably in couples, coming in and out of the drugstore or the grocery store and their haberdashers, or lingering in front of the post office, which was on a corner of under the IOOF hall. Young men in shirt sleeves with brown wicker cuff protectors over their forearms and pencils behind their ears bustled in front of the grocery store, anxious and preoccupied. A very old man, a Mexican, in ragged white trousers and bare feet, sat on a horse block in front of the barber shop, holding a horse by a rope around its neck. A Chinaman went by, teetering under the weight of his market baskets slung on a pole across his shoulders. In the neighborhood of the hotel, the Yosemite House, traveling salesmen, drummers for jewelry firms of San Francisco, commercial agents, insurance men, well-dressed, metropolitan, debonair, stood about cracking jokes, or hurried in and out of the flapping white doors of the Yosemite barroom. The Yosemite bus and city bus passed up and down the street on the way from the morning train, each with its 2 or 3 passengers. A very narrow wagon belonging to the Coal and Colmore Harvester Works went by, loaded with long strips of iron that made a horrible din as they jarred over the unevenness of the pavement. The electric car line, the city's boast, did a brisk business. its cars whirring from end to end of the street with a jangling of bells and a moaning plaint of gearing. On the stone bulkheads of the grass plat around the new city hall, the usual loafers sat chewing tobacco, swapping stories. In the park were the inevitable array of nursemaids, skylarking couples, and ragged little boys. A single policeman in gray coat and helmet, friend and acquaintance of every man and woman in the town, stood by the park entrance, leaning an elbow on the fence post, twirling his club. But in the center of the best business block of the street was a 3-story building of rough brown stone, set off with plate glass windows and gold-lettered signs. One of these latter read, Pacific and Southwestern Railroad Freight and Passenger Office, while another much smaller, beneath the windows of the second story, bore the inscription P and SW Land Office. Annixter hitched his horse to the iron post in front of this building and tramped up to the second floor, letting himself into an office where a couple of clerks and bookkeepers sat at work behind a high wire screen. One of these latter recognized him and came forward. "Hello," said Annixter abruptly, scowling the while. "Is your boss in? Is Ruggles in?" The bookkeeper led Annixter to the private office in an adjoining room, ushering him through a door on the frosted glass of which was painted the name Cyrus Blakely Ruggles. Inside, a man in a frock coat, shoestring necktie, and Stetson hat sat writing at a roller-top desk. Over this desk was a vast map of the railroad holdings in the country about Bonneville and Guadalajara, the alternate sections belonging to the corporation accurately plotted. Ruggles was cordial in his welcome of Annixter. He had a way of fiddling with his pencil continually while he talked, scribbling vague lines and fragments of words and names on stray bits of paper, and no sooner had Annixter sat down than he had begun to write in full-bellied script and all over his blotting pad. "I want to see about those lands of mine. I mean of yours, of the railroads," Annixter commenced at once. "I want to know when I can buy. I'm sick of fooling along like this." "Well, Mr. Annixter," observed Ruggles, writing a great L before the N and finishing it off with a flourishing D. "The lands." He crossed out one of the N's and noted the effect with a hasty glance. "The lands are practically yours. You have an option on them indefinitely, and as it is, you don't have to pay the taxes." "Rot your option. I want to own them," Annixter declared. "What have you people got to gain by putting off selling them to us? Here this thing is dragged along for over 8 years. When I came in on Quien Sabe, the understanding was that the lands, your alternate sections, were to be conveyed to me within a few months." "The land had not been patented to us then," answered Ruggles. "Well, it has been now, I guess," retorted Annixter. "I'm sure I couldn't tell you, Mr. Annixter." Annixter crossed his legs weariedly. "Oh, what's the good of lying, Ruggles? You know better than to talk that way to me." Ruggles' face flushed on the instant, but he checked his answer and laughed instead. "Oh, if you know so much about it," he observed. "Well, when are you going to sell it to me?" I'm only acting for the general office, Mr. Annixter," returned Ruggles. "Whenever the directors are ready to take that matter up, I'll be only too glad to put it through for you." "As if you didn't know. Look here, you're not talking to old Broderson. Wake up, Ruggles. What's all this talk in Genslinger's rag about the grading of the value of our lands this winter and an advance in the price?" Ruggles spread out his hands with a deprecatory gesture. "I don't own the Mercury," he said. "Well, your company does." "If it does, I don't know anything about it." "Oh, rot. As if you and Genslinger and S. Behrman didn't run the whole showdown here. Come on, let's have it, Ruggles. What does S. Behrman pay Genslinger for inserting that 3-inch ad of the P&SW in his paper? 10,000 a year, hey? Oh, why not 100,000 and be done with it? Returned the other, willing to take it as a joke. Instead of replying, Annixter drew his checkbook from his inside pocket. Let me take that fountain pen of yours, he said. Holding the book on his knee, he wrote out a check, tore it carefully from the stub, and laid it on the desk in front of Ruggles. Well, what's this? Asked Ruggles. 3/4 payment for the sections of railroad land included in my ranch, based on a valuation of $2.50 per acre. You can have the balance in 60-day notes. Ruggles shook his head, drawing hastily back from the check as though it carried contamination. I can't touch it, he declared. I've no authority to sell to you yet. I don't understand you people, exclaimed Annixter. I offered to buy it of you the same way 4 years ago, and you sang the same song. Why? It isn't business. You lose the interest on your money, 7%. Of that capital for 4 years. You can figure it out. It's big money. Well then, I don't see why you're so keen on parting with it. You can get 7%, the same as us. I want to own my own land, returned Annixter. I want to feel that every lump of dirt inside my fence is my personal property. Why, the very house I live in now, the ranch house, stands on railroad ground. But you've got an option. I tell you, I don't want your cursed option. I want ownership. And it's the same with Magnus Derrick and old Broderson and Osterman and all the ranchers of the county. We want to own our land. Want to feel we can do as we blame please with it. Suppose I should want to sell Quien Sabe. I can't sell it as a whole till I've bought of you. I can't give anybody a clear title. The land has doubled in value 10 times over again since I came in on it and improved it. It's worth easily 20 an acre now, but I can't take advantage of that rise in value so long as you won't sell. So long as I don't own it, you're blocking me. But according to you, the railroad can't take advantage of the rise in any case. According to you, you can sell for $20, but we can only get $2.50. Well, who made it worth 20? Cried Annixter. I've improved it up to that figure. Genslinger seems to have the idea in his nut, too. Do you people think you can hold that land untaxed for speculative purposes until it goes up to $30 and then sell out to someone else, sell it over our heads? You and Genslinger weren't in office when those contracts were drawn. You ask your boss. You ask S. Behrman. He knows. The general office is pledged to sell to us in preference to anyone else for $2.50. Well, observed Ruggles decidedly, tapping the end of his pencil on his desk and leaning forward to emphasize his words. We're not selling now. That's said and signed, Mr. Annixter. Well, why not? Come, spit it out. What's the bunco game this time? Because we're not ready. Here's your check. You won't take it? No. I'll make it a cash payment, money down, the whole of it, payable to Cyrus Blakely Ruggles for the P&SW. No. Third and last time. No. Oh, go to the devil. I don't like your tone, Mr. Annixter, returned Ruggles, flushing angrily. I don't give a curse whether you like it or not, retorted Annixter, rising and thrusting the check into his pocket. But never you mind, Mr. Ruggles. You and S. Behrman and Genslinger and Shelgrim and the whole gang of thieves of you, you'll wake this state of California up some of these days by going just one little bit too far, and there'll be an election of railroad commissioners of, by, and for the people that'll get a twist of you, my bunco-steering friend. You and your backers and cappers and swindlers and thimble riggers, and smash you lock, stock, and barrel. That's my tip to you, and be damned to you, Mr. Cyrus Blackleg Ruggles. Annixter stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him, and Ruggles, trembling with anger, turned to his desk and to the blotting pad written all over with the words, "Lands, $20, 2.5, option," and over again with great swelling curves and flourishes, "Railroad, railroad, railroad." But as Annixter passed into the outside office on the other side of the wire partition, he noted the figure of a man at the counter in conversation with one of the clerks. There was something familiar to Annixter's eye about the man's heavy-built frame, his great shoulders and massive back, and as he spoke to the clerk in a tremendous rumbling voice, Annixter promptly recognized Dyke. There was a meeting. Annixter liked Dyke, as did everyone else in and about Bonneville. He paused now to shake hands with the discharged engineer and to ask about his little daughter Sydney, to whom he knew Dyke was devotedly attached. "Smartest little tad in Tulare County," asserted Dyke. "She's getting prettier every day, Mr. Annixter. There's a little tad that was just born to be a lady. Can recite the whole of Snowbound without ever stopping. You won't believe that, maybe, eh? Well, it's true. She'll be just old enough to enter the seminary up in Marysville next winter, and if my hop business pays 2% on the investment, there's where she's going to go." "How's it coming on?" inquired Annixter. "The hop ranch? Prime. I've about got the land in shape, and I've engaged a foreman who knows all about hops. I've been in luck. Everybody will go into the business next year when they see hops go to $1, and they'll overstock the market and bust the price. But I'm going to get the cream of it now. I say 2%. Why, Lord love you, it will pay a good deal more than that. It's got to. It's cost more than I figured to start the thing, so perhaps I may have to borrow somewheres, but then on such a sure game as this, and I do want to make something out of that little tad of mine." "Through here?" inquired Annixter, making ready to move off. "In just a minute," answered Dyke. "Wait for me and I'll walk down the street with you." Annixter grumbled that he was in a hurry, but waited nevertheless while Dyke approached the clerk. "I shall want some empty cars of you people this fall," he explained. "I'm a hop raiser now, and I just want to make sure what your rates on hops are. I've been told, but I want to make sure, savvy?" There was a long delay while the clerk consulted the tariff schedules, and Annixter fretted impatiently. Dyke, growing uneasy, leaned heavily on his elbows, watching the clerk anxiously. If the tariff was exorbitant, he saw his plans brought to naught, his money jeopardized, the little tad Sydney deprived of her education. He began to blame himself that he had not long before determined definitely what the railroad would charge for moving his hops. He told himself he was not much of a businessman, that he managed carelessly. 2 cents, suddenly announced the clerk with a certain surly indifference. 2 cents a pound? Yes, 2 cents a pound. That's in carload lots, of course. I won't give you that rate on smaller consignments. Yes, carload lots, of course. 2 cents. Well, all right. He turned away with a great sigh of relief. "He sure did have me scared for a minute," he said to Annixter as the two went down the street, fiddling and fussing so long. 2 cents is all right, though. Seems fair to me. That fiddling of his was all put on. I know him, these railroad heelers. He knew I was a discharged employee first off, and he played the game just to make me seem small because I had to ask favors of him. I don't suppose a general office tips its slaveys off to act like swine, but there's the feeling through the whole herd of 'em. You got to come to us. We let ye live only so long as we choose. And what are ye going to do about it? If ye don't like it, get out." Annixter and the engineer descended to the street and had a drink at the Yosemite bar, and Annixter went into the general store while Dyke bought a little pair of red slippers for Sydney. Before the salesman had wrapped them up, Ike slipped a dime into the toe of each with a wink at Annixter. "Let the little tad find 'em there," he said behind his hand in a hoarse whisper. "That'll be one on Sid." "Where to now?" demanded Annixter as they regained the street. "I'm going down to the post office and then pull out for the ranch. Going my way?" Ike hesitated in some confusion, tugging at the ends of his fine blond beard. No, I guess I'll leave you here. I've got other things to do up the street. So long." The two separated, and Annixter hurried through the crowd to the post office, but the mail that had come in on that morning's train was unusually heavy. It was nearly half an hour before it was distributed. Naturally enough, Annixter placed all the blame of the delay upon the railroad and delivered himself of some pointed remarks in the midst of the waiting crowd. He was irritated to the last degree when he finally emerged upon the sidewalk again, cramming his mail into his pockets. One cause of his bad temper was the fact that in the bundle of King Sabe letters was one to Hilma Tree in a man's handwriting. "Huh," Annixter had growled to himself. "That Pip Delaney. Seems now that I'm to act as a go-between for him. Well, maybe that female girl gets this letter, and then again, maybe she don't." But suddenly his attention was diverted. Directly opposite the post office upon the corner of the street stood quite the best business building of which Bonneville could boast. It was built of Calusa granite, very solid, ornate, imposing. Upon the heavy plate of the window of its main floor in golden red letters, one read the words, "Loan and Savings Bank of Tulare County." It was of this bank that S. Behrman was president. At the street entrance of the building was a curved sign of polished brass, fixed upon the angle of the masonry.